I'm pretty sure he like went in his car on his computer and like screamed into his computer mic, and like so that's why it like
Love
sounds
that.
kind of shitty. And he sent me the vocal track, and I like mixed it on GarageBand, put like some dumbass bass drops in there, and then like he made like some silly art for each song, and then we were just dropping it, just drop it, drop it.
Yeah. Well, thanks everyone for tuning in. This is another episode of the Scoped Exposure podcast. I am super excited to be jamming with king of the metalcore riffs, a coffee legend, Andrew from Sanction. Thank you so much for coming on.
What's up? What's going on?
I guess I should have introduced you as Lumpy, as that's probably what you go
That
by more so in the
yeah,
hardcore
I mean,
world.
the only people that call me Andrew is like my girlfriend and my family. So
Right.
I
Yeah.
mean, occasionally people will call me Andrew when they're like not a part of my family, and it's
Honestly,
kind of weird.
right.
It's kind of weird, but I honestly don't really care. You know what I mean? It's because that's my real name. I don't know why I can't get mad about that. So.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, when you joined the call here, it was like Andrew's iPhone. I was like, oh,
Yeah,
that
yeah,
is his name. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. Yeah,
Word.
if I put my nickname there, that would be very corny of me. Oh
Right.
yeah, yeah. I want my phone to call me by my nickname. That doesn't make any sense.
Lumpy's iPhone. If you're airdropping anything to people, that's already a question mark. You're like, who's
You know,
Lumpy?
if I'm airdropping something, I'm using some way more fucked up names.
Got to keep that very under wraps. Cool.
Right, right.
Well, Lumpy, thank you so much for coming on the podcast. I'm super excited to chat. Obviously, we're going to be chatting about the music stuff that you're involved in with Sanction and some other projects, and a number of other things. But before we dive headfirst in, can you just give me a proper introduction, your name, the bands you're a part of, and where you're based?
My name is Lumpy, or Andrew. I'm based out of Long Island, New York, and I play guitar in Sanction, Out for Justice, and those are all the bands I'm playing in right now. And yeah, I mean, just like doing everything around hardcore.
Yeah, very sick.
That's my whole life is based around it. So
Yeah, yeah, and I'd love to dive in real deep into that. Something that I'm not sure how familiar with the show you are, but something I always like to ask people is getting context on how they got into hardcore, whether they
right, right,
came through punk or they came through metalcore or somewhere in between. Can
right,
you
right.
just kind of roll back the clock and give me the origin story for that for you?
Well, pretty much when I was a kid, um, my father was a drummer, and he would always go in the basement, and we'd have like this big PA. He would blast like Sabbath or Zeppelin or Bad Company, Grand Funk Railroad, fucking Aerosmith, and play drums to it.
Oh, okay, cool.
So when I was like, he was a drummer, and he would just play along to the songs and shit. So when I was real young, I was probably 4 or 5. I would just go down there and just watch him. I'd
Hmm.
just sit there and just watch him. I'd have like the big earmuffs on, just like sitting there watching them. Just like watching, just like taking it in, taking it in, taking it in. And then probably, I don't know when I first, because I started playing drums like when I was that young.
Yeah.
I was probably, I really don't know exactly, probably somewhere around 7 or 8. Just started like, he would like show me stuff. I would start playing drums, and I'd play like Sabbath songs and stuff. And then like 4th grade, I got like my first guitar, which was like some shitty like Ibanez. I would fuck around on that, and then I was listening to all that same stuff like Sabbath, a lot of like radio shit. But my father would like show me all this stuff, and then I got into like Pantera and shit. And then middle school, like 7th, 8th grade, I got into like As I Lay Dying and Kill Switch and like all that whole world. I guess like the metalcore. And from that point on, beginning of high school, once I started going to shows, like at the beginning of 9th grade, going to see bands like Atreyu and Caliban and God Forbid and all shit like that.
Right. Yeah.
I was into all the metalcore shit, but I was also into like Throwdown, which is kind of like I mean, they're like hardcore kids playing hardcore, touring with metalcore bands. It was all I don't. it depends who you talk to, what they classify it as.
Right.
You know, and they're, you know, obviously singing about straight edge and shit. And I didn't claim edge until for like, you know, 2 more years when I was like 16. But I would like, you know, I loved the songs, but it didn't like click. Like that aspect didn't just click with me or something.
Yeah.
So, and then probably when I was 16, you know, I claimed edge, and then I heard like Shattered Realm, and I was like, oh, this is exactly what I want, because it was like, it sounded like metalcore, like, well, I wasn't thinking like, oh, these are metalcore bands. Like when I was listening to them, it was just like, I don't know, like metal, like, I don't know if I said hardcore. I don't remember what I was saying,
Right.
like when I was 15. So like, I loved all those bands. I heard Shadow Realm, and it had a lot of those similar riffs, but then it had angry fucking mosh parts. And I was like, this is what I love.
Mm-hmm.
So bands like Shadow Realm and like Seventh Star, like all like the more like heavier mid 2000s bands, you know, I loved all that shit. And then I went in 2006, I saw Down to Nothing, Have Heart, Brace War, the Mongoloids, this Long Island band Agent, and this band Heart of the Fight from the Merrimack Valley in Massachusetts. I saw that show, which was completely different from the shit that I liked before. And I was like, wow, this is fucking sick. So now my life, I'm pretty much like in between those two worlds. Like that's, right. I just like all that shit. So, yeah. You know, and then I just kept listening to I really got into hardcore like 16, 17, 18. 18 was probably like the biggest year. Like 18 is like really when I started being a nerd about it.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, oh, I gotta know everything about this. Because like if you're a hardcore kid and you never had that nerd phase where you're like, oh, I gotta dive into this subgenre.
Yeah.
Like you're not really a hardcore kid, because it's like you gotta, I don't know, man. I don't really know how to explain myself, but you know, you gotta know what you're talking about. Like, don't just like, you know, take all this like starter pack shit and then like, you know what I mean? Like,
no, I got you.
Like, like if you like it, you better fucking like it. Like, don't you want to find out all these random fucking bands? Like, oh, what band this guy did before this band? Right. What band this guy did before that band? You know, where these people are at, like where they started from. You know, like what influences this band? Because you know, any more modern band, say any band from the 2000s on, they're influenced from something from the 80s or 90s or some shit like that.
Yeah.
So it's like, you know, go listen to what they're influenced from, you know, like shit like that. So, yeah. So pretty much when I was 18, when I was getting really into like Marauder and Biohazard, and like, which are like two of my favorite bands of all time, like that's pretty much, that was like peak, like me listening, like that was like the last time my mind was like absolutely blown.
Yeah.
Like checking out like a hardcore band or something, you know, then I'll, you know, listen to hardcore obviously. And then like when I was 20, actually my 25th birthday, the kids who were doing Sanction, who were half that band at that time, was like 19. Yeah. I pretty much started that band because that was like shit I used to, you know, grow up seeing and playing, because I was playing in metalcore bands when I was a kid. So it just like hit me like in a certain way, you know what I mean? Yeah. So I always liked all that shit. You know what I mean? I never wrote off my past like, oh, I don't like that stuff. Like I still like that. I just liked fucking everything. You know what I mean? So. Yeah.
To quickly jump off of that, are you kind of like the dad of the band as far as being a little bit older than the rest of the guys in Sanction?
Yeah, probably. I mean,
the cool uncle, if anything.
I'm 7 years older than Mike and Little D.
Gotcha.
And I'm only like 4 years older than Dave, and then Ryan, the bass, is like 3 years younger than me.
Yeah.
But pretty much like I'm like the one saying like, yo, let's go, let's do this, let's do this.
Yeah.
But I mean,
had
like,
the experience to at least pave the way for the rest of the guys.
Yeah, I mean, like I'm not taking credit for like writing everything. Like Mike is probably writing 80 to 85% of the music. Mm-hmm. But it's, you know, that's a whole different thing. It's like, you know, he's like writing most of because he's just like fucked up when it comes to this shit. He could just sit there until 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning. You know, he could like demo out drums. Like, I don't know how to do that shit. Like, he knows how to do all like this crazy shit. So he sits on his computer until 5 o'clock in the morning, demoing out drums, making all this weird shit, and then putting guitar to it. Like, I don't have the mind like that.
Right.
Like my mind is more like, oh, he does that, we bring it to practice. Then my mind's like, oh, let's like fuck around with this part, this part, and
Yeah.
this part.
Yeah, different
So
strengths and weaknesses for any band
yeah,
versus having
yeah,
a band filled with people that all can write banger riffs, but if
yeah.
no one knows how to
That's
tour,
that's yeah, that's bad because then everybody's like clashing heads on everything. Like, no, my
right?
riff's better. No, my riff's better. No, no, that's that. I've always kind of been like this way with my band. Like it's usually like the other guy is mostly writing good chunks and I'm kind of arranging it and like fixing some shit. And
Right.
so
Fine tuning. So yeah, and there's a lot to unpack there, and I would like to back it up when you were talking about how your dad was like just playing loud music throughout the house, and I thought that was so interesting because a lot of parents that maybe don't have any experience with having a musician in the home or being a musician themselves is so daunting to be like, hey, can I have a bunch of people over and play and drop B flat and, you know, just make loud music for, you know, every Thursday night. I remember some of the bands that I was playing in where my parents eventually had to be like, it's too loud in this house and you need to find a jam space. Yeah. Was there any like early stories, or was it just a no-brainer for your parents?
Well, pretty much like I started playing drums when I was younger, and then I took up guitar. And then when my brother's 3 years older than me, so when I was like 13, my brother was 16. He wanted to learn how to play drums. Me and my dad kind of like showed him basic stuff.
Yeah,
like I showed him like simple beats and shit like that. So when my brother was probably a junior in high school and I was in 8th grade, we started jamming, and we did like, you know, some bands. Like we're not playing shows, but we did like bands with like him and like his friends, and like I was like writing all the music because like I was, I guess, the most talented one in the band, but like I just had slightly more experience just because I've been playing music for a few years longer in my life. But all the other guys were just like, oh, I'm gonna start playing bass, or I'm gonna start playing drums, or like just like an older guy that's just singing. So like we were doing stuff like that, and then I, you know, in high school I started playing. You know, I played like my first shows, and you know, I played in a few bands in high school, like metalcore and like beat down hardcore bands and shit like that. And then, yeah, pretty much. High school was, I mean, high school band wise, like there was no bands. I didn't tour or anything like that. Like I was just playing, you know, every Saturday I had a band that would practice at my house from like noon to 2. And then we would go to get Wendy's and like, just like memories like that. Like straight up, we would do that, and I would go and just fuck up the dollar menu, get like 9 things, because I was such a fat piece of shit when I was in high school. So like shit like that, and you know that like that band played our last show like my senior year of high school, I think. You know, when I was getting way more into like the hardcore end of everything, you know. Like I was into hardcore doing that band and like kind of showing the other kids in my band, but they were like kind of fucking with it and like not really. Like they like Terror and like Throwdown, but I was like, you know, listen to like Marauder, and they're like,
yeah, just a little too outside the box for them potentially.
Yeah.
You know, something I wanted to ask, you know, are you born and raised in the New York area, or?
Yeah, Long Island, yeah.
Long Island, yeah. And you know, something that that I was thinking about leading up to this interview is, you know, New York and that general area as a whole is like pretty infamous when it comes to hardcore. There's a lot of, I guess, foundational bands that have really paved the way. You know, Agnostic Front, like the list goes on and on. I was kind of curious, like, was that ever daunting to you when you were starting bands, like as far as not essentially living up to that, but just knowing that there was like just this very rich history on the scene, and you're like, do I need to write music that, you know, has some correlation to that, or was it just like everyone's game to do whatever?
It was pretty much just like Crown of Thorns was like one of the first New York bands I got really into, and that just like guitar style, just like I just loved it, and it just blew my mind. And it's not that I was like, it was just pride. Like, yeah, these bands are from here. Like, I'm from here. Like, yeah, it's fucking sick. And Long Island wise, like, you know, Vision Disorder, and like even like Sky Came Falling and like Sons of Abraham or fucking Crumbsuckers, like fucking Solid Majority, like anything from Long Island, you know, is all like that gets overlooked. Like nobody ever thinks about Long Island, but Long Island has, you know, I mean, New York City is one thing. Like New York City has got endless amount of bands, but Long Island has so many fucking bands that people don't even like. They don't even realize, oh, that band's from Long Island too, like all shit like that. So
Gotcha.
it's it was honestly probably growing up, like I don't know, I love them both. I don't really know, like Long I don't know, man. Like I love Long Island hardcore. I love New York hardcore. Like even like just upstate hardcore, like All Out War is like probably my favorite hardcore band of all time, and that's like an hour and a half from the city north though. And I'm about an hour from the city east, so it's like the same shit. We're just like in a big like triangle from the city,
right?
But it's all like New York City is this one thing, and then the other spots are just the other thing. So.
Sure, yeah. Since we're on that topic, is there any Long Island bands that you feel like just haven't broken out of that like local sphere that you want to at least plug for anyone who's listening or watching?
Bands I have to plug from Long Island are definitely like The Fight, Rule Them All, Hangman, fucking Jab.
Jab's sick.
There's always a lot of like me and all my friends and like other friend groups in Long Island. We're always just like, we just got to keep making more bands. Just like do a demo. Like, you're like, don't put that much thought into it. Just fucking put it out. Like whatever. Like the best hardcore is always usually like less thought put into it. And you know, if you think about it too much, you're gonna be like, I don't want you might be a little bummed out if somebody doesn't fuck with it. Just put out whatever the fuck. Like just have fun with it. First riff that comes to mind, put it out. Fuck it, that's hardcore. Like if you're thinking about it too much, go start a metal band. Like you know what I mean? Like
that's true, yeah.
I don't know, like Sanction's obviously more of a metal band, but we're all hardcore kids. Like we're influenced by tons of hardcore bands, like 90s hardcore bands and shit like that. But we definitely put more thought into that. But we put some dumb shit in there a lot of the times where it's just like, oh, this sounds funny as hell. Like, let's put this in there. Like, fuck it.
Do you think there's an element of that where it's like, let's just have high output versus like worrying about quality? Because like I've gone through the ringer when it comes to like, oh, like I want to make sure that the product of if I'm editing a video or a podcast or a riff or whatever I'm doing, I want it to be good. But I always remember like I could put all this work into it and someone could still say it's shitty. So like, you know, quality is subjective at the end of the day. So I've really applied that to a lot of my creative thinking where it's like, I'm just going to have high output, take the feedback that I see there and apply it to the next thing and just grow gradually versus trying to make it 100,000% on the first go. Yeah.
You could say you record one sick riff or something and you think it's the sickest riff ever. You'll listen to it 100 times and you're going to fucking hate it after that anyway. So it's kind of like, if you record a bunch of things and you just like sit on them, you know, you could hate them all. But then if you let's say you have them done, like you have instrumentally full songs done, no vocals. If you put vocals over the simplest song, it could fucking make the whole song.
Yeah.
Like you could make a song with like one note in different contexts, put vocals on it, and it's sick. Yeah. Like it's all. It's like that whole aspect of like writing songs and everything like that. I say like, don't think about it too much, but then it's like certain things you have to think about, but it also depends what kind of band you're playing and what you want to do with the band. Because like when I do Alfred Justice shit, like that all like has absolutely, it does not matter. We just do like whatever the fuck happened. Like we'll literally go to the studio and Jay will play drums to something random. Like he'll do like, okay, I'll be like, all right, do a thug beat into a tribal mosh, into a slow like halftime. Right. And then he'll just do that, and then I'll just put guitar to it, and then we'll bullshit some lyrics. Like it doesn't fucking matter what we're talking about. We're not some real band, so it's just like shit like that, you know. Yeah. I don't know.
Sanction's a little bit different because you've got to shoot it to pure noise and
I mean since we've turned into like an actual band from just playing local shows, like we got to put like a little bit more thought into it.
Yeah. Yeah, but I 100% agree with that mindset as far as like if the band is purely to have fun and you're not trying to become the next Code Orange and the next Knocked Loose, like just put stuff out, have fun with your friends, do like side projects. Like I feel like some of the hottest EPs right now are bands that are just homies of other bands just coming together to do an awesome project together.
Shout out Pain of Truth.
100%. That whole EP is just madness. I love that.
Yeah.
You know, speaking of Sanction, something that I wanted to bring up and really applaud you guys on is obviously the time we're recording this is still in the thick of a lot of the Black Lives Matter stuff, and a lot of bands quickly, you know, especially in hardcore, quickly you know, put benefit shirts together and things like that. And one of like out of maybe 2 or 3 bands, like you guys, I think I saw the most amount of money raised. So you guys, and did you guys do 2 shirts or you're doing a collab with?
Right. Well, we did the disembodied rip first.
Yeah.
From Minneapolis, and then about 2 weeks after, we did an indecision rip for New York.
Yeah.
And that was those are going to be sent out soon, I think, but we don't even have the final money amount yet because it's not through us, it's through another guy who's doing it. So I'm waiting the whole accounting, you know, before we can like donate everything.
Yeah.
So I don't know the exact amount with that yet, but that's going to obviously be posted online for everything. So,
well, you guys,
but yeah, it was sick.
Yeah. Sorry. You guys posted the receipts of the first, like the disembodied rip shirt, and it was what, $10,000 or something?
It was like 11.5 or something like that.
That's so crazy.
Honestly, like I don't want to sit here and be like, yeah, we sold more shirts than your band. Like that's not like what I'm trying to do. It's honestly probably because I don't want to take credit for like donating more money than another band. It's probably because we were one of the first bands to put out a benefit shirt.
I
honestly, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what band it was. If you were in like one of the first ones, you're gonna be donating that money. Like Mind Force dropped the shirt immediately and did 10 grand like that.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Like whatever, because you know a lot of bands do it. Everybody wants to donate, which is great. Like that's what I was doing. I bought like 10 benefit shirts. So like everybody wants to donate. You see, like you're a kid that likes, you know, any kind of band. If you're like, oh, I kind of like this band, like yeah, I'm gonna get the shirts, go to something good. You can only do that. There's only so many kids who have so much money to do that so many times, you know, before you know they can't do it as much. You know, because everybody runs out of money. Not everybody has tons of money.
Yeah,
of course. But it's like the bands who do it towards the beginning, they're gonna get more.
Yeah, and I appreciate you bringing up that point. Because like you know, I heard something interesting on, I can't remember if it was on a podcast or something, and I think it might have been Axe to Grind, but they were just talking about like, you know, it's not something to be, like you said, bummed about, like, oh, I can't raise thousands of dollars because my band isn't hype enough. It's like, if you did a shirt and raised $200, that could bail someone out. Like,
as simple as it gets. Whatever it is, it doesn't matter. Like, if we raised $100, I'd still be as stoked as I am now. Like, it's still something. Like, it's not like somebody sitting there breaking down how much each band broke down. Like, if you do that, you're fucking corny as hell. Right. Like everybody collectively donated all this money. Yeah. Like, it's fucking sick. Like, everybody's doing the right thing. So it's awesome.
Yeah. Yeah. And I appreciate you bringing up that point, because I think it's been really cool to see hardcore kind of like rally behind this, as I think, you know, out of all the music genres, I think, you know, we're kind of the first to kind of jump on social justice things, and you know, that's very cool to see. And obviously the fight is still going on, despite it maybe not being the number one thing you're seeing on social. Yeah,
it's not being covered on the media because there's no riots. So
riots. Yeah,
you know what I mean. Yeah, so that's why.
Have you gone to anything locally in Long Island or in the surrounding area in the last little while? Or
I was actually on a road trip with my brother when all this, you know, I
saw that you literally went all over the States.
Late May until the middle of June, which was, you know, when pretty much everything was going on. And it sucked because I wanted to be home and just be with my friends and like do all this. I hung out at one rally in Flagstaff, Arizona, actually, but I had nothing with me. Like I had no signs. Like it was just me. It wasn't a march. It was just like, corner to corner. And I was just kind of chilling, hanging out, just like being there for support. But, that's not my town. Like I kind of felt out of place, but I just wanted to be there standing in the back just for support in that area.
Yeah.
But that's all I've been able to really do. I've bought 10 benefit shirts, putting my money towards this, like wearing the benefit shirts like all the time. But it's like that's when all the main stuff was going on, like I wasn't home for it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So
yeah. And I think, yeah, that's a key thing. Like you in theory for sure can stand in solidarity wherever it is you are in the world. But there's more impact when you're like, this is my community. These are my streets that I'm, supporting.
Like if I was home, I would have been with all my friends, like going out all the time.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And there's occasionally still rallies here, but they're like, an hour from my house. And it's like, I don't know anybody that's going and shit like that. And it's like, I don't want to be guilted if I don't go, because it's like, yeah, I have donated. You know what I mean? It's like, there's only so much I could do as long as you do something. In my mind. Like, yeah, I've donated, the band's donated, like if you don't do anything, then you're part of the problem. Like buy a band shirt, like go to a rally, like it's, just do something. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. And I'm not here putting you on the spot. Like how much have you
done? No. Yeah, no, I know completely.
Yeah. So kind of transitioning kind of back to music. I would be remiss if I didn't, ask, what's up with Sanction, what's coming up. I'm sure majority of the bands right now being like, well, maybe we can't tour, but we can for sure write new music.
Right.
So I don't know what's going on with you guys. Is there anything coming down the pipe that, fans of that band can see on the horizon in the next little while?
Well, we are writing, probably going to record something and put it out. Like maybe if it's like a song or two, like something like that, like a single, like some shit like that, put something out, like hopefully like in the fall, something like that, just to put music out. Like we're obviously not going to tour or play anything, just, keep it fresh. Like, I'm going to be putting out, on my own little label, like a Sanction release of like some old songs, shit that never really had shit that never really had, physical, shit like that. So some cool little shits and treats on there too.
Yeah.
So we're gonna be putting some stuff out. It's just taking our time. You know what I mean? Because it's like, what's the rush to put out music right now? There's no rush. So
yeah.
Just fuck around.
Yeah, I think a lot of people realize it's like, oh, we're in this this ship for a while.
It's gonna be a long time.
Yeah. And to hopefully transition fully into that. You started an awesome quarantine band while this was all happening.
Oh God, which one?
Keep Your Distance.
Oh God. Yeah, that was funny.
Yeah, I forgot. That was like back-to-back hits. Songs like "Out of Existence," "Nunya," "Respect Through Distance," "Facemask," "Fucka." I was gonna ask if that's a Face Wreck reference.
No. So all that shit was pretty much. I was talking to Anchit from like MHK Austin Sector, Chicago, and he's like, I forgot if he said like, because he programmed the drums on those songs. He pretty much just sent me, because I don't know how to program drums, like I said before. He sent me drum tracks, and I just put guitar on this, like on whatever he sent me, and I sent it back to him, and he recorded. I'm pretty sure he like went in his car on his computer and like screamed into his computer mic, and like so that's why it like sounds kind of shitty. And he sent me the vocal track, and I like mixed it on GarageBand, put like some dumbass bass drops in there, And then like he made like some silly art for each song, and then we were just dropping it, just drop it, drop it.
Yeah, I
Just to
love
keep myself occupied.
Totally not like none of the artwork connects. It's all different for all the
Yeah,
different singles. Yeah.
Yeah, the face mask fucker was just because face mask, not
Right.
like face rack.
No.
Just talking about people should wear masks. You know?
Yeah. No, I think there's just one lyric in that song where it just sounds like how like Face Wreck name drops their own band name, but like just with face mask. So I was curious about that.
Yeah, he put a lot of very funny lyrics in those songs. He
Yeah.
had a song. He had a lyric where it says, "Sucker, all you do is play baseball."
Yeah.
And I lost it.
Yeah, I listened to the
lost it.
discography today, and I was like, I didn't know that baseball line was in
very
there.
funny. And each song, like if you go from the beginning on, you could tell when I started using my actual amp because the guitar tone just got infinitely better because I was just plugging straight into the computer in the interface and going on GarageBand with the shitty like
Right.
the metal tones in there, which suck ass.
So
And then I just mic'd up my amp, and it just sounds better for like the last 4 of them or something like that.
yeah. So that was purely like, let's just do it once, and then it was just too funny not to do it 2, 3, 4 times after.
Yeah, it was. We did all. I think we did 7 or 8 songs. We did them all within like 2 weeks. So they were almost one a day. You know what I mean? And it was just like, let's just keep going. And then we just kind of just like stopped. Like, I don't know.
Yeah.
It was kind of just like something fun. And we're never gonna play a show or anything.
No.
It's just like,
well, that would be sick though.
Yeah. It's fun to put out a bunch of stupid shit, you know?
I feel like that band should only like write new music when there's a global pandemic in the mix. Like they just go away when everything goes back to normal.
Next time there's a pandemic,
I'm gonna hold you to that.
Yeah.
I specifically love that the band is called Keep Your Distance, and then the last track is Keep the Distance.
Yeah.
That one's great.
That's all Anshin. Anshin was like, yo, I got an idea for this song. And he would tell me the song name. Like, that's perfect. Let's do it. Like, I'm all for stupid shit. Like, I'm all for it.
Yeah. You also I think the second last song is Eat the Hamburger. And it's it's like a what the fuck is that called? It's like a diss track for Donald Trump, but it's like Eat the Hamburger.
Yeah.
Highly recommend anyone
eat the hamburger.
Yeah. I highly recommend anyone to go into Bandcamp and put that up. It's worth a good laugh for sure. Now this is going to be a complete hard transition into a totally different topic, and it was a main one that I reached out to you, and I guess it got my brain going because I know you did a podcast with my friend Jamie. And
right.
I know a lot of his stuff is like largely focuses around like the history of band and things like that. But as soon as that dropped and I listened to it, I'm like, you didn't ask him anything about his like coffee addiction or like how he ranks stuff. And he's like, oh, I had no idea. So this hopefully is the very first covering of that interest of yours.
Yeah, I think it is. Yep.
Yeah. So, tell me the, I had a, we'll get into it, but one of the questions I had on that to kind of get us into the subject, do you remember the very first time you had a cup of mud?
Very first time was probably sometime with my parents when I was a kid. I definitely had it when I was younger, because my parents loved coffee.
Right.
But like, and then once I started like working, like doing like manual labor jobs when I was like 18, in the morning you get like the hot cup of like deli, like trash coffee, but it's like just fuel. You know what I mean? Just like, that's why I like any coffee. Like I'll drink that trash. Like if I have to.
The cigarette ash water coffee.
Oh yeah. I love I'll drink that. Like I'm not gonna be like no.
Yeah.
But I love good coffee, but I'll drink that shit because that's where like I started on.
Yeah.
But yes. So you want me to break down the whole ranking system and everything?
Well, yeah, I would love to get into that, but I just wanted to say I think you bring up a great point with that. I just spilled some water on my notebook. Whoops. What can I use? I'll use that. I think you bring up a great point with that. Like, I'm kind of the same way. I'm a major coffee fan, and I'll I'll drink Tim Hortons if I need to, but like supporting a local coffee shop here in Calgary is definitely a go-to for me. So,
Yeah.
definitely let's break down the ranking system, because you rank things out of 7. Is that correct?
Yeah. So pretty much I only started that Instagram because I used to always just get a cup of coffee and then like take a picture of it and just post it.
Yeah.
I just kept posting that. Like, you know, everybody just takes a picture of their food and they post a picture of the food. Like,
yeah,
it's a common thing that most people do. And I think an iPhone is unbelievable, so I just use it all the time and do dumb shit like that. So I was just doing that, and then I started the Instagram, and I was like, "What should I name this?" I was like, "I don't know, coffee guy." And then I put the year I was born. I was like, "I guess this is fine." So then
that'll do.
And then I was just like, I always had a connection with the number 7, which is like another thing. It's just like when I was a kid, there was just like a group of my friends were just like we were just kind of like obsessed with the number 7. Okay. It was like a weird thing, kind of like a weird like chunk of my life where like the number 7 was like a thing. Oh. So like 7 is kind of like a funny number,
sure,
like around like me and like some of my friends. So that was like, okay, I'm just going to rank them at a 7 because everything's at a 5 or 10. So I'm just going to do 7. So it's like, it doesn't matter. Like I could rank it out of anything. Like there's no, like I can do whatever I want with this. It's obviously not anything serious.
Right.
So it just started doing that and just posting, you know, random coffee shops from wherever I go and just like not doing it to like, just doing it because it's like funny. And like, also like people hit me up like, yo, what's a good coffee shop in Denver or fucking Kansas City? And I would just like check my Instagram like, oh, this spot.
Yeah, because everything's just tagged and, you know, archived to a degree.
Right. So it's like, and also it helps me like just to remember the places. Like next time I'm in the
100%.
city, I gotta go to this spot.
Yeah.
Or like, you know, I also just like trying new spots. And I could also like, if I'm in a city and I don't know any coffee shops there, like I could look on Yelp and just look at the pictures of the inside of the coffee shops and tell you if they're going to be good or not. Because if you're looking at the coffee shops, if there's like a chalkboard menu and there's like something with mocha, it's going to be bad. Don't even go there. But if there's something where it's, if you look at the pictures, I don't even need to look at pictures of the coffee. It's like pictures of the inside. If there's like a white countertop and like, you know, one of those menus where you could move the pieces, like the little letters, like the little like the black and white. If you could, it's gonna be good.
Yeah,
it's gonna be a good coffee shop.
Yeah,
and if you walk in and they're rude as fuck to you, it's gonna be even better. I love when they're rude as fuck because the coffee's gonna be fantastic. They gotta make you gotta feel like you don't belong.
Yeah,
so it's gonna be good.
You have to earn your coffee, man. The chalkboard though, oh man, that is so true.
It's gonna be a chalkboard, and there's gonna be like a couch, like for people to chill. There's probably gonna be Scrabble. Yeah. Like that shit. It's gonna be trash because they're gonna have all these flavors just to compensate for how shitty their coffee is.
Yeah. Man, yeah. There's a lot to unpack here, and that was a question that I had asked. Is like, you know, like I'm sure some people would argue is like, oh, like how good can your product be if like you're putting all this money into your like interior and stuff like that. It's like, no, like that's a kind of tell as far as like how, like who they're kind of catering to. Because there's been random coffee shops me and my wife have walked into and we're like, yeah, like this seems like we're in like West Side Story or not West Side Story, but something like Betty White's gonna walk in and like, you know, oh, I'm gonna get a cup of coffee. Like it's just versus something that's like, oh, someone who, you know, went to school for interior design, actually like laid things out nicely and they care about making a cup of coffee in the back.
It's all, you know, plus a lot of places try to come up with like a crazy name and shit like that. Yeah. Just like, oh, this name's crazy. People are going to love the coffee. Like my favorite coffee shop in the country is called Double Shot in Tulsa, Oklahoma. That's a terrible name for a coffee shop. Double Shot. That's just very, very just, you know, double shot. Just, okay, double shot of espresso, just very basic.
Right.
But it is absolutely fucking unreal coffee shop. So I recommend that.
Yeah. How hard is it for you to get an actual good cup of coffee while you were out on tour with Sanction? Or is it like normally opting for something at a gas station, McDonald's,
No way.
Dunkin', whatever it is?
I've turned, well, my drummer is a pretty big coffee head, and I've turned pretty much everybody else in the band into big coffee heads.
Good.
Even Ryan, the bassist, when he started playing bass for us, he recently like quit drinking coffee. Like he's like, okay, I'm done with that. Like I don't want to do that. Like, I guess it was a phase. That's a shitty phase. Like you can't stop doing that. So he stopped. But like, you know, we will pull up at a coffee shop because we're like a coffee cult. Like we're going to like the best spots. So we'll pull up and I'm like, Ryan, you gotta get out. You gotta have coffee with us. I'm like, don't embarrass me, Ryan. Let's get we gotta get coffee. So like, you know, so he starts, you know, he'll get like some, he's starting to get some cups again now. So, right. But we're definitely if we do it, say we do a 30-day tour, we'll probably get Starbucks twice. All the other times will be like good coffee. Like, just because like, I also want to enjoy my time, like, and get some cool shit. It's also like, I'm also being a tourist everywhere. Like I enjoy myself. I enjoy going to all these random places. So it's like, I want to see all this stuff. And like, I want to have a good time, you know? Yeah,
there's a level of like priorities as far as like, okay, we only have 5 hours before we have to get back for sound check. But like, you know, coffee, finding good coffee is probably in the number.
It's number one. Like if we're on like a tour where we got to be there at a certain time and we're hanging out at the venue, I'm fucking looking around coffee shops around me. Yeah. All over the place. Like coffee shop, record store, that's the big one too for Sanction, 100%.
You know, obviously I would highly recommend if anyone's a coffee head and they're traveling around the States to check out your Instagram, Coffee Guy 1990. But how have you found some of the gems that you've spotted? Is it through Yelp or is there like pages you follow?
Sometimes.
Or what's
right.
Yeah.
I don't follow any coffee pages.
Oh, okay.
Some of them are Yelp. Just because, and some of them are like people telling me, you know, you should try this spot. You should try this spot.
Word of mouth does go a long way too.
Yeah, it's half word of mouth, half Yelp. Like, and then, you know, I got like my certain spots in certain cities. Was like, I got to go there. I got to go there. I got to go there. Mm-hmm. And there's some cities where it's like, I don't have a spot there. It sucks. Like there might only be one spot and maybe it closes at 4 and then we get there at 4:30 and it's like, shit like that where it sucks.
Weird hours is a reality for a lot of coffee places for sure.
Well, yeah, a lot of good coffee shops close at 3 or 4.
Yeah.
Which I respect. I respect it. I respect it and I respect your decision. Like there's a lot of the bad places stay open to like 8 or 9 or 10.
True.
But
there's so much truth coming out of your mouth.
I'm not complaining. Like when we're on tour, we'll like wake up, we'll get good coffee. Like in the morning. Sorry, we'll get good coffee. We'll drive. We get to the venue. We attempt that second cup. 75% of the time, we're getting that second cup.
Right.
So sometimes the spots aren't open, but at least I had that coffee in that cup in the morning, so I'm good. But I'm definitely like a morning cup and an early afternoon cup kind of person.
Are you in a sense where if you miss your morning coffee, you're just fucked for the rest of the day?
If I miss my morning, I'm not missing my morning coffee. It's just not happening. If I don't get coffee by like 10, 11 o'clock latest, like it's not going to happen because I'm going to make sure I get that. I'm going to do whatever means necessary to get that cup.
Yeah. No,
that's just how it goes. Like,
no, I 100% back that.
I'll drink gas station fucking, you know, shit. Like if I have to, like as long as I get that, because my head will just be absolutely fucked up. Like I will have the worst headache in the world because I have an addiction and it's coffee.
I'm assuming you drink your coffee black.
I drink my coffee like a million different ways. It all depends on what's going on. Yeah. Like I do keto diet like a lot. Like I lost like 60 pounds 2 years ago on it. Like I'm back on it now. I'm like on and off. I'm trying to stay on it because it's a life hack. Yeah. So like I'm like when I'm on that and it's the summer, like I'll get black cold brews because it's, you know, there's obviously nothing in it. And I like to get iced in the summer. And then, you know, in the winter months, you know, I'll get just like black drip or I'll get like cream and no sugar and shit like that or stuff like that. But, you know, if I'm having a cheat day, you know, I'll get a latte or something like that.
Right. Have you ever had a dirty chai before, or know
Oh,
what
I
that
love
is?
that. I love that. That reminds that gives me like Christmas vibes. I usually have that around
Okay.
Christmas.
Yeah.
It gives me that holiday vibe. So I love dirty chai.
Yeah.
Fucking awesome.
Quick coffee story for you. So I live
Yeah, yeah.
in Calgary now. And while I was coming here just to come to the local fest, there was a coffee shop, and I was like, oh, I'm on this like vacation. Like I want something special. So I asked the person working, I was like, what's something that's like a little just unique? Like I need espresso, but I want to try something. He was like, oh, you could get a chai latte and make it dirty. I was like, what does that mean? And
Right.
and so obviously adding the espresso into that, and an iced dirty chai is like my summer go-to. It is
It's
so good.
it's fantastic.
It is weird though, because some coffee shops I've gone to in Canada and the States, they're like, what's dirty? I'm like, no, you do a shot of espresso,
Right.
and they're like, oh, okay. So I don't know how well known that drink is.
Also,
to the world.
also another key that just reminded me.
Yeah.
A lot of spots won't even have that on the menu.
No,
a lot of good coffee shops, it won't be on the menu, and you just say it and they make it.
Right.
Plus, a lot of good coffee shops don't even have a menu. You just know what you want. So those are just already getting points right there. Like, right. I don't need a menu. Like, I know what's on the menu. Like, you don't got to show me. Like, you know, I'll pitch something to you. If you don't have it, like, you let me know.
Right.
That's fine.
Do you have are you just like coffee only when you're going out, or do you like to fancy doing like a pastry or something in the mix? Like, are you a dunker? Like, what's the vibe for that?
If I'm not dieting, I'm usually always doing a coffee and a treat, because coffee tends to make me hungry, which is kind of opposite for a lot of people. A lot of people says it suppresses their hunger, but no, it makes me like shaky and shit. Yeah. So if I get like a strong cold brew, I want to get like you know, a pastry or a cookie or something like that, because I love sweets. So I love just having like a muffin and just take a bite of that and then like sip of the coffee and that combination. It's like my favorite shit in the world.
Yeah.
So I fuck with that shit so hard.
Yeah. Is there any coffee spots that are on your list that hopefully, like maybe Sanction had a tour route that you were like, yes, I can finally hit this spot in this random part of the country, or is it something that you're way more on top of while you're on the road?
If I see like a tour routing, I'll literally look at the cities and be like, oh, sick, yeah, sick. Yeah. But it's like, yeah, like I know like the spots. I mean, there are some cities I don't have a spot, but you know, I'll acquire them, you know, shit like that. But I pretty much got a spot in, I'd say 85% of cities in America. Canada is definitely harder. Toronto's got a shitload.
Oh, so many.
But that's probably it for me. I've only been to Calgary once.
When you guys are up with Fuming Mouth and Vane.
Yeah. I don't even remember. I honestly don't even remember what coffee I had.
Yeah, I'm kind of curious now. If I don't know if you can recall it, but
because I remember we stayed in Edmonton and then we played Calgary that day, so like 2.5 hours away or something. Yeah. We must have gotten coffee in Edmonton, but I don't remember what the fuck we got. I really don't remember.
Yeah.
I am fucking blanking. Oh, but then I remember we went to Banff the next day.
Yeah.
And we fucked around in there for a bit, and I think we got some like whatever spot in Banff, but it was still just coffee.
We literally were, I guess we were in Canmore, which is like Banff and Canmore are like little mountain towns that are beside each other. But there's, I've been to both, and there's just not that like one that's like, okay, you guys got it on point. It's like just like it's more touristy chalkboard coffee shop.
They want to put the family spots in there. They're not getting the coffee snobs.
Right.
If you, that's, you know, families are going there. There's no coffee snobs going. You put it's all the good spots are usually going to be inner city areas.
Yep.
Maybe, you know, on the outskirts where it's like a little bit like cheaper rent to put like in like a warehouse type thing.
Yeah.
You know, kind of like how breweries are, shit like that. So.
Yeah. On that point too, I think it's also like more, a credible spot if the or maybe we can talk on this. Do you think a spot is more credible if there's a roastery within, or they have their own beans,
Yeah.
so they do their own beans?
Yeah, definitely. Because usually it's going to be good because they care about what they're doing. They're not just getting any whatever.
Yeah,
but I mean, there's also tons of coffee shops that buy beans wholesale from a sick roaster that I know.
That's true.
You know what I mean? There's like, oh, I'm going to go here. They're roasting fucking Intelligentsia or something like that.
Yeah.
Like, and I'm like, oh, this is going to be good because they're roasting that. It's like, there's a lot of spots like that.
Yeah, that's a great point. Like when I lived in Winnipeg, which is like in the dead center of Canada, it's maybe a 12-hour drive from Calgary. There was one coffee spot I frequented, and they always had Transcend beans, and Transcend is a roastery here in Calgary. So it's weird to go to where not Transcend, Phil and Sebastian. But when I go to Phil and Sebastian for a coffee, it's weird. I'm like, this is a Calgary company, but it tastes like home because that's where I first experienced it.
It's good shit.
Oh yeah, it's good stuff. If you guys are ever coming through any part in Western Canada, I would love to recommend some coffee spots to you for sure.
Yeah. I would I mean, I don't know when we're gonna get there again. It's gonna happen within the next few years, definitely. But I'm definitely gonna go there.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, it's been a while since you guys came through. So Lumpy, I guess it's kind of that time that we should start wrapping up the show. How I like to end a lot of these episodes is a favorite Mosh story. So anything from your Sanction days, any other bands, and it doesn't.
You're talking about me moshing?
No, it doesn't need to be like I smacked this dude in the face and his jaw went like this. It could just be something that you saw or someone did to you, whatever is off the top of your head.
Something that I saw, probably Kev1 from Bulldoze moshing for the Crown of Thorns reunion at the 2009 Black and Blue Ball.
Okay,
that's probably one of the coolest mosh sequences I've ever seen in my whole life, because he is crazy and he was fucking smashing people, and it was the coolest shit I've ever seen.
Yeah, sick.
That's up. I mean, there's definitely other ones, but that's the first one that comes to mind.
Yeah. Sometimes you just like admire someone's mosh work and it just stays with you forever. So
yeah, I mean, it was fucking sick, and like, but he did it cool. It wasn't like corny. It was cool because he knows what's good. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, thank you so much, Lumpy, for coming on the show and chatting hardcore and coffee. Probably the yin to your yang. How do people keep up with you on social? Anything that you want to plug here, so I can just put your tags on the screen.
My Instagram is LumpyX631, and then the coffee one's Coffee Guy 1990. I run. It's kind of like a small record label, just me nerding out on music type page called @Days of the Futures Past. And then also Sanction is @Sanction631. And that's pretty much it. Thanks for having me.
Of course. And everyone stay safe out there. Keep your distance, keep the distance. And Lumpy, thank you so much for coming on the show.
Thank you, man.